This is Dr. Orlando Landrum joining you guys for Take Back Your Life Thursdays. Today we are having a phenomenal guest, Dr. Jackson Corley, who is the inventor, the owner, and the CEO of Incrediwear. He is touching lives and changing the way that medicine is practiced. So you should tell all your friends and those who are just kind of tuning in that they really need to watch this. Again, I'm Dr. Orlando Landrum from Cutting Edge Pain Relief, and we're bringing you insightful, really life-changing elements of individuals and products that can help make your life different. So please ask questions. We can be able to field what you have in the chat. And I'd really like to welcome Dr. Jackson Corley to our channel. Thank you so much. Dr. Corley,
Doc,
please.
I'm glad to be here. Great day. It's exciting to actually be on your show. Changing the world actually starts right now when someone actually does something. It just doesn't happen by sitting around doing nothing. I think we saw that during COVID is the people that are going to make a change, now they're thinking about it. Oh, what do I need to be healthy? So this is a great opportunity for us to help your patients and make a change in the world that's better for everybody.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us with us today. And so one of the things that we wanted to kind of get into this is right from the very beginning. Can you tell us a little bit about your story and this mountain bike episode that really kind of compelled you? As we understood, it was in December 2008, and we posted this on our Facebook page, but clearly we'd much rather hear it from you. Give us some insight about what happened, how you were able to overcome just this crazy, drastic event in one's life.
Yeah, it's so funny because I do so many interviews, so many TV interviews. We're in like 40 countries. And every time I do this, they always say, didn't your mother tell you never to ride a bike by yourself in a mountain near cliffs? And so, part of it is really my fault. Is it, you got to admit, who goes up on a mountain on cliffs December 27th when the sun goes down at 5:15 and you leave on a 1-hour bike ride at 4:45? So it's going to be dark. It's a 10-mile ride. It takes me an hour to go on the cliffs. And so, the background is, it's all set up there. It was like foreshadowing, something bad was going to happen. So on this date, I'll just give you a little background about me because I was a sub 15-minute 5K runner, 14:37, 30-minute 10K runner, did extreme skiing, extreme biking, so I'm like, I'm a male. I'm thinking, hey, I can do anything. And
I got this.
Well, I can get out of bed. As the story goes on, you'll hear it is that. So I was up on the bike. It was mountain biking. I was fully geared up and I was riding along, and we have this saying in all of sports that's kind of, it's an axiom of how you should live. Do not look where you don't want to go. And it's kind of same in medicine. It's kind of same in almost anything you do. If there's a tree there, don't look at the tree because it'll make you gravitate towards it. And so here I keep on telling myself, okay, don't look where you don't want to go. And all of a sudden there's a lava rock sitting in the middle of a trail on a cliff going, the bike trail going down really steep. And so I'm like, okay, don't look where you want. And then all of a sudden I looked at it, and that little pause made my front wheel lock on that lava rock, which didn't move. It was actually part of the lava. And I actually flipped and turned. And as I'm going through the air and saying some nasty words, I was thinking, there goes my bike. I was thinking about my bike first.
Wow.
And so when I landed on rocks, and I thought I broke my wrist because the rock stopped me. Was on it's kind of like when you get injured, in a car accident. It's only when you hit and stop that you get injured. And I'm thinking, okay, got to roll. We can't roll when you hit rocks. And one of the rocks happened to stop me from going another 25 feet. And I hit my right hip. And I was just thinking, oh man, wow, just broken wrist. That's okay. That's okay. I can ride out, because I was by myself and it was dark. So I had to ride another 7 miles, and I'm riding out and I'm thinking, man, I'm not going to tell anyone. There's no way, this is embarrassing. And so
wait a minute. Hold on a minute. You had 7 more miles to go?
And it was really spooky, you know, because it was steep. And so anyway, I get down to my house, and, you know, the adrenaline, it's kind of like being in any accident. You know, like some people actually, their adrenaline gets so high they can lift up a car or whatever. Well, I made it down. Not only did I make it down, but I woke up the next morning and I had told my buddies I would go on the same ride. And I did the same ride again, but I couldn't stand up. I was actually bent over, and the guys are going, "What the hell? Why can't you stand up?" I said, "I'm okay on the bike. It's okay. It's okay. I'm good. And I'll take the lead." So I took the lead, and I made sure that I walked past the cliff area because it was the same ride again. And then I made it down. And that day, you know, this is the male thing. I'm doing work around the house. I'm thinking, man, I'm standing up straight. So I thought, I'm going to go for a 10-mile night run tonight. So I put a headlamp on. I put my waist lamp on. My hips hurting a little bit. And I'm like, okay, here I go. So I'm running. And 5 miles into the run, my foot starts going, just dropping, total foot drop, no control. And so I get back to my house and I shower off, and I'm like, oh, I can't feel my leg. Oh my God, this is weird. Zero. I couldn't feel anything. You could put needles in it, knives in it. And so that was it. The next morning I woke up and I took one step, and that was it. That was the last step I had taken without help for 4 months. I had herniated one vertebrae, L4 to L3, 22 millimeters out of the spinal cord and back up the spine to L3. And it was pinching several nerves, but most of my pain was in my hip and down, you know, numbness in the leg and not a lot of back. So I thought, man, I'm going to go in for an MRI of my hip. You know, my buddies, you know, or they own the MRI center. So I go in there and they said, oh yeah, you have trochanteric bursitis, really bad. You know, it looks like that thing got smushed, but there's something going on at L5 and L4. I don't know what it is. So they redid the MRI and they went, oh my God, you got 4 severe herniated discs. The one's really bad. We need to get you in. I'm crawling in to the neurosurgeon, which was a mistake because it was my buddy. And I went in there, I'm laying on the ground. I was like, I can't get up. And they're like, you know, I think you herniated the disc in your neck too. And I think the problem's in your neck, not your low back. And I'm like, look at that. There's the nerve's 90% pinched. And so she said, come back in a couple weeks. And then I still couldn't walker, wheelchair, which another neurosurgeon for the U.S. Olympic team for skiing. And he said, wow, you got denervation of the iliopsoas. And I don't know if we should do surgery on you. You're so messed up. We'd have to fuse your entire spine. And then I went to another neurosurgeon. He said, now we got to do surgery next week. And that was by March. I had gone to my 4th one at the San Francisco Spine Institute. And he goes, Jackson, man, you are messed up. And because I'd come in for the appointment in a walker and my foot would be to drop. And he goes, I knew it was you coming. I could tell. And that's when I got an aha moment. It was like, you know, divine intervention came and hit me. I was studying the fastest computer chip in the world actually 2 months before. So I was almost like, what? Why am I studying this? And then I had just gone to China just to find maybe a new product because I'd already developed 18 other products. And I was like, oh, this is crazy. What if I do this and I do this and I put this in here? I wonder what happened because I couldn't walk and I couldn't stand up straight. And I made a back brace, have it here today. This is my original brace that I made. I embedded with the molecules that are inside, put it on, and it was like, wow, this is crazy. This is not true. It's my mind. And I started being able to walk better, and then my foot drop went away, and I was like, wow, this is cool. That was in 2009 in April. And then I thought, man, my knee hurts and my foot's numb. Maybe I should try to do a knee brace. And so I invented a knee brace. And I was like, whoa, pain's gone right away. That's cool. My foot's numb. What'll happen? So I invented a sock and it was like, wow, this is crazy. I don't know how it works, but I love it. So I never made this product line for anybody except for me. And until I had some surgeons start using the products and some diabetic doctors, foot and ankle, and all of a sudden they were like, you got something. I don't know what it is, but man, this thing works. So at first it was all anecdotal. Now we've got studies everywhere. It's great. So that's the whole story. Yeah. Very cool story. That's the way you start off a podcast and just really start off a live stream. So let me ask you, can you tell our viewers what's your background when you said, you know, hey, I was studying this chip and I come from this aspect of being an event. Can you give us some insight about what were you studying? What's your background? How do you kind of come to know all this that you're able to employ to help yourself and other people? absolutely. So my background is I was a chiropractor 20 years before the accident. And I was a chiropractor. I had the largest practice in Northern California. My background was chemistry. That's where it all came from. So I could, I took classes I didn't actually need to take, but I took them because that's my background. I was studying actually to be a DO when I got hurt on a game, a football game, and had to help me. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. It's so fast. I did it without medication, yet nobody could do anything else for me. So I want to do that. But in the background, I always said, man, I'll tell you what, I need to do something bigger in life. And so I was a doctor for U.S. Olympic team athletes, for voluntary athletes, Houston Oilers, some of those, the football players, they can tell how old I am. And, so my background was really, I was developing products as a chiropractor for homeopathic sublingual sprays before Cold Ease was out. In fact, I was using the same manufacturer. They came out 2 weeks before me. I was developing products. I was a sub 15-minute 5K runner. I was running 80 to 100 miles a week. I had compartment syndrome, foot drop due to that. And I had decompression. And I was, when you're running, 100 miles a week, you're always injured. And so I was trying to develop things for me. And so the background was always here, in life, if you listen really hard, the answers are there and they'll come to you. And oftentimes we're watching TV and we're listening to the radio, listening to music, and we're listening to people. We're not listening to ourselves. You need to take time and listen when you're in pain. And that's what you do. You're working with people in pain, and you need to figure out how you can get better. And sometimes it's self-evident, but thank God we have doctors like you that are, paving the path, to revolutionize medicine, because, that's my background is really trying to help people, trying to make a difference. And now I'm actually trying to revolutionize medicine by being the first product you give before you give drugs. And it's happening. That's why we're in 40 countries. So it's exciting. But I love your business too, because Regen that's where it's at.
Right. So we were actually having this kind of conversation backstage virtually, if you would, right? Where we were talking about what's the construct of medicine going forward for people who want to be optimally functional, right? In terms of being able to have movement, in terms of being able to be pain-free, and being able to really kind of punch pain in the face and live the life that you deserve, right? So we were talking about, things like what we do, which is regenerative medicine, and we kind of focus on some of those elements, but we need to look broader than that. We need to really bring patients into the scope of saying, how can we be able to do non-invasive things that puts you on a path of being healthier, right? How can we find and introduce products like what you have to really make a difference? And we're going to talk about how this differs from other products that people will kind of confuse, particularly within the context of, well, I could just go down the street and get this at Walmart. I go down here to the sporting goods store. And it's a compression thing, right? And I know we're going to talk about that in just a little bit to really kind of get after that. But I'm not right. Yeah. Much like how many people will say, well, steroids is the same as stem cells. It's pretty close. It's wide variances and differences. But we're going to really get into this in just a second or so. So one of the things that I really kind of want to get to is, can you kind of give us this name behind you? Where did Incrediwear come from? So how did you come up with the name?
Okay, you're going to kill me on this one. And thank God I actually, that's a registered logo because I was watching The Incredibles. Yes, the movie The Incredibles. And I saw the little kid, he's dashing across the water, and I'm thinking,
Dash.
Oh my God.
It's a dash, man.
It's all about dash. I was a fast runner, but I could never run on water, no matter how fast I went. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, yeah, incredible. That's crazy. My first product in 2002 was an Incredisole. It was a flotation insole, which I don't sell anymore. We're in like 9 or 10 countries, but it flowed when you walk. I was having foot problems, so I wanted to get better. And so it came from that. And then we were doing Incredibrace and Incredisocks and all these things. And I said, forget it. It's about what you wear. Why don't you become the first wearable anti-inflammatory, the first pain relief? So now it's about being incredible and just wearing it. What if you went to bed wearing Incrediwear woke up feeling, oh my God, I feel amazing. And then you put on Incrediwear because during the day, all the things you do, actually, the Incrediwear helps you get rid of all the aches and pains and also prevents injury. And we can go into this because I have studies on it, is that really, if you want to be incredible, you got to do things that make your body incredible, from what you eat, to your attitude, to your mindset. This is not just, oh, I'm going to inject you all the time. Now, you know how I believe in stem cells so much, and I think you should be doing it every 6 months, is that you want to get younger? Okay, do things that make you get younger. You want to get old? Sit in a chair and do nothing. Life is motion. So Incrediwear came from Dash not being sedentary, always going fast, and getting where he needed to go in a straight line. And that's why this saying I love is Mo Chi Chu, moving straight ahead without hesitation. That's what we need to do in life. Don't wait. Don't listen. Listen to your brain. Give yourself a chance to be incredible.
So I think that one comment that you also mentioned in the context of that was a wearable anti-inflammatory, right? I think that
Absolutely.
that is huge. Right now we're really in the context of talking about anti-inflammatories and what's a prudent choice, right? What can you actually do to be able to decrease inflammation? Clearly, you can talk about doing things that are holistic, like looking at your diet. But when we talk about taking traditional NSAIDs now, there's a whole host of different side effects and potential risks that are involved with it. When we talk about topicals, we know that traditional kind of topical type creams, whether they're compounded or not, sometimes just really can't get to the root of the matter. So for us to be able to do something that is repeatable, that is sustainable, is huge. And I think it's incredibly helpful for patients that have that problems, but not just patients, but people who are constantly pushing themselves to not be sedentary, as you just stated.
Absolutely. And, one of the, what part of your life are you sedentary? It's got like 80 or 90% of your life. I mean, we're sitting here chatting and talking about things, but the only thing moving is our arms and our lips and our mouth. And so we got to remember that the anti-inflammatory it happens all the time. I mean, today the wind was heavy here in California. It was blowing real hard and I'm sneezing, so allergies, that's an inflammatory condition. Being an anti-inflammatory, and you are a COX-2 inhibitor, which are NSAIDs. If you go to and look online about how many deaths secondary to non-steroidal anti-inflammatories last year due to stomach bleeding or secondary issues, it was about 17,000, which is a huge number. So here, I work with 27 NBA teams, 17 NFL teams, Real Madrid, all these. You can't give an NSAID to an athlete after they're injured because now we see that it prolongs the injury rate. Inflammation is a good thing. You have inflammation because you want your body to heal. The thing that you don't want is the swelling associated with it. So if I can get rid of the swelling, and yet I still have all the chemicals that make us, heal, like these little tiny things that they're called macrophages, but they're like, they go in and that little game that I can't remember what they used to play where it just eats up all these.
You're going to make me show my age, Pac-Man? Hey. You said Pac-Man?
Yes. So basically, this is anti-inflammatory. We should really get into it because, look, even I just read an article on CBD, which I'm really into trying to do anything you can do for chronic pain, but it's a COX-2 inhibitor, or the study that I was reading. And if you're a COX-2 inhibitor, let's understand this. Okay, so if I put something on externally, okay, and it's a gel or something and it heats you up, it vasodilates you. When you vasodilate, it's kind of like taking a bathtub and filling it up with water and forgetting to turn off the water. It overflows. And where does it overflow? In this case, if you vasodilate, is into the tissue. And this is called interstitial swelling. If I punch you in the face and your eye starts to swell, that's inside the tissue. If I have an accident and I'm running along and I tear something, that's intermuscular. And then, of course, you have interarticular, which is inside the joint. But listen to this. Everything is about this swelling that's in the tissue. And it's kind of like, if you lived in the olden times when you had a castle and you had a moat around the castle, and just think your drawbridge didn't work. And so, man, you can't get any new food into the castle, and you can't get rid of the toxins that are building up from you going to the bathroom all the time and peeing and whatever. And this is a cell inside your body, and you have trillions of them. This is just like a cell inside your body. It's producing energy and waste and byproducts, but the cell is surrounded by a moat. That's the swelling. It can't get out. It can't get in. And now all of a sudden you're trying to heal and you put a heating pad on it, or you go and put an ice pack on and you vasoconstrict the blood vessel. Now you're not even getting any oxygen and nutrients to the cell. So there's a bad thing going on where if you give heat and it vasodilates you, that's bad. If you give below 62 degrees Fahrenheit and it vasoconstricts you more than 5 minutes, you're messed up. So right now we need the sweet spot. And that's where we are in medicine.
What does your product do in order to hit that sweet spot? How does it function from a basic science standpoint?
Okay. If I'm talking too much, you stop me off, man.
No, man, go for it. This
is exciting stuff because what's embedded inside where I got my idea, the aha moment was I embedded semiconductors. You might be watching this on a computer or you got your phone sitting right there. Inside is silica. And so basically what happened is I put the fastest computer chip in a semiconductor form inside the material. And basically it's inside. So you can't even wash it out. You can wash it over and over and over again. We've got some athletes who are using the same exact product for 2 or 3 years. And it just doesn't go away. But what it does is embedded inside essentially are these germanium molecules and carbon in a semiconductor form. They happen to have electrons in the outer shell. And when you heat them up with your body, it's so cool. It's just like with your phone, is that it transmits. And in this case, it transmits a wave called infrared. This is a mid-level infrared optical wave. And when it does that, the wave goes into your body. We actually study it. We study that vibration. And so basically all it's doing is vibrating your cells on a micro scale. When you do that, it's like contracting a muscle. And Doc, we know that the only thing that moves the lymphatic system is muscle contraction. Muscle contraction is what moves it. But if 90% of the time you're sedentary, what's going to move the lymphatic system, get rid of the swelling? Put a COX-2 inhibitor, you don't have anything going on to help you heal. You put Incrediwear on, and what does it do? It's like exercising without exercising. We're doing studies even on weight loss, on libido, on post-concussive brain injury, anything that post-surgery, regenerative, all these things, even putting a mask on your eye for macular degeneration. The big one that you're probably going to read today is we're doing a study with diabetic neuropathy because they're sedentary. They can't move. Their foot is swollen. It's surrounded by fluid and the oxygen is not getting to the cells and they're crying. So the cells are like, they're screaming, they're burning. Just like if you go and run as fast as you can, all of a sudden your legs start to burn. It's because they don't have oxygen deprivation. So essentially what this does is constantly vibrate your cells. But the second thing that's really super cool is that it releases a negative ion. So a negative ion goes into you. When the negative goes, when you lay on the beach and you're feeling great, it's not because you're drinking a Corona. It's because you're getting negative ions into your body, and they tend to make your body alkaline and get rid of inflammation. Or you take vitamin C, and that's an antioxidant, or vitamin E. So basically what's happening is you put it on you, the heat of your body starts releasing the negative ions too, and it causes heat to be given off your body. And this heat is released, which cools your core temperature. It goes down to in the 60 degrees. Well, if you never get hot, guess what's going to happen as an athlete? You're going to be amazing because you never vasodilate. You don't get tired. Why are we on all these teams? Because of that. If you are injured, the first thing that happens is heat. So our body gets rid of the heat. It vibrates your cells and moves everything, just like I'm taking a pressure washer and I'm washing down your driveway or your clogged toilet. And it's pushing everything in what's called the lymphatic system, which is the sewer system of your body. That gets rid of the swelling. So the two things we're doing is simple. We're cutting off the cascade to response of the injury, heat and swelling. And if you don't have heat and swelling, there's no pooling of blood. And then you don't have pain because there's no pain generating chemicals. So it's really simple. 0 side effects. That's a great thing. You're just wearing it. You can wear it forever. And there's no, yeah, go ahead.
And so that's how you guys are distinctly different from compression, from copperware type stuff, how it makes a huge difference in that context. Can you comment on that, please?
Yeah, compression. Compress enough, you're gonna die, man. Put a rubber band around your hand and see it'll leave an indentation. Ours doesn't compress; it just holds up enough. So let's talk about compression first because it's huge. This compression thing is going away, and it's going away fast. Would you ever compress a diabetic? No, you would never compress a diabetic. They don't have good circulation. So what do they say in compression? Oh, compress it, it's going to increase blood flow. What? You compress? That's an oxymoron. You can't compress and increase anything. What it does is they think it moves things to other areas or it increases blood flow to deep arteries. And then you're going to go and you're going to get mad at me because if you have lymphedema, you're going to say, well, wait a minute, I wear compression because I have, swollen arms. Well, guess what? I do have some products that do compress you a little bit more that are doing the exact same thing. And so what we're doing is we're actually doing studies on post-surgery of lymphatic patients that have had breast surgery due to cancer and also testicular. But the key is if you compress something, try to wear it to bed. Man, you're gonna wake up and your arm's gonna be swollen if you compress it. And this decreased blood flow, just think about it. If I have, especially gradient compression, okay, so I have something that at the calf or at the foot is, like more compressed. So it's 27, and then it's 20, then it gets up to the knee and it's 15. Then you get up to the thigh, and at the thigh it's like 10. Well, so now what I'm doing is I'm trying to squeeze it like a toothpaste. Woo, I'm squeezing it out. Okay, now it's squeezed out and I'm still holding on. Now try to get something to go back into that toothpaste. No way. So now I'm trying, my heart is having to work harder to get stuff down to my extremity because I'm compressing it. How am I going to actually get stuff to my feet if I'm squeezing it? Especially when you squeeze it, it's squeezing the external part of your tissue. And that's where you need, you need to have increased oxygen and nutrients to heal. So it's kind of it's going away. And I work with so many pro teams that are like, hey, compression's gone. It's just like ice. Ice is going away as well.
All right, so let's kind of put it to people so they can understand, like, professional athletes, their whole job is taking care of their body. And if they're at the peak optimal performance state, are constantly paying attention to what's on the outside, what's on the inside. Can you comment on how many pro teams across multiple different sports you guys are involved with and are using your products?
So I hope there's a lot of different states here because we do 27 NBA teams, 27 NBA teams, 15 NFL teams, or 17 NFL teams, 10 MLB teams. We do NHL. I do 10 MLS teams. I do Real Madrid. If you go and look this morning, one of the star players from Arsenal that just had ACL, he's got my leg sleeve. He's 1.1 million followers posting it. We, over the years, the Olympic teams and all, when you take a look at colleges, so we take a look at colleges. Well, we do Alabama, we do Georgia. We've been doing those for a long time. If you see Todd Gurley, every year, the Rams are like, oh, okay, we got to get leg sleeves for him. Now, if you look at Cooper Cup, we actually dye his leg sleeves. You look at Ben Roethlisberger. If you go and you can Google these guys, go Incrediwear and Kobe Bryant. You'll even see Kobe wearing Incrediwear. From same thing on Steph and Kevin Durant and Ronaldo. All these guys were using our products. We didn't give them the product. They all bought it, or their doctor gave it to them. Or I just watched a picture of Klay Thompson signing his new contract with the Warriors after he had ACL and he's wearing the leg sleeve. Or Kevin Durant in his video, showing the leg sleeve, turning the logo sideways, showing he's using it. And what does this mean really? Is it that when we take a look at athletes, and let's go back a little bit on compression, because some athletes love compression because they love to see their muscles or whatever. And also, if you've ever had a hug before, man, it feels good sometimes. But dude, let go of me sometimes, okay? If you're a female and you're wearing Spanx, it's like, whoo, I feel so much better now that they're off. Athletes, oftentimes are are wearing some sort of compressive thing. But we have been able to do studies on athletes. And if you want to ask me those questions, we just finished doing a study in the NBA with NBA referees, and we reduced injury rate. It's like 100%, where they had 20 some injuries last year. They had none this year. They're wearing our products during. We did it with FC Cologne in Germany, and they just wore us for recovery. You know, they were just wearing us after practice and on a plane, and it was 67% decrease injury. So you don't have to wear this just because you're in pain. You want to wear it just like we were talking about getting stem cell. You need to do things that are great for your body now. And we were talking before. We're like, okay, people are looking at their wrinkles, you know, like in their 20s. They're looking at them. They're going, okay, I'm losing my hair, whatever. You know, I got to do something now to prevent. But when it's pain in your own body, man, I'll tell you what, you take better care of your dog and your horse than you do of your own body so that it stays better. And pro athletes, we get into this with the pros, is that I've been in almost every single NBA. I actually bring, you know, on the teams, I bring a microscope and I have people lay their finger underneath the microscope and I lay the product on. I go, hey, let's put the product right here, you know, and I'm looking at your finger right here, and we're going to look at the blood flow here in your fingertip. And within 2 minutes, it's like quadrupling your blood flow. And they go, whoa, that's incredible. Yeah. Guess what? You're sitting in a chair, not moving. Whoa, what? At nighttime, your heart rate goes down, your blood pressure goes down. What are you doing at night? Hey, doc, you know, or trainer, hey, what are you doing for your team at nighttime to help them recover? Silence. And that's us in life. We're silent when we're trying to take care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm. All right. So definitely want to ask you some more questions, and particularly the interesting ones. Now, let me be clear. I'm a Bears fan. I'm not changing from being a Bears fan. But you apparently have an Aaron Rodgers commentary with the Andrews Institute, which we're going to talk about in just one quick second. However, there is one thing that I want for our viewers to know. So as we're kind of going on about this, we want to make sure that you have an idea about where you're going to be able to kind of find some of these things. So really what you want to be able to do is to go to Incrediwear and make sure that you can take a look at this. If you Google it, you can find it pretty quickly. You can be able to see the various different elements that are in place. Apparently there's a Father's Day sale going on, so people should really jump onto it really soon, right? But you have elbow sleeves, you have knee sleeves, you have back braces, you have socks, you have things for the wrist to be able to help people with. And as I understand it, you have a whole host of different individuals who have been ambassadors and continue to be ambassadors for this. Everything from extreme athletes, CrossFit elements, other individuals along that context. So I just really think that, you know, this is not just something that's a flash in the pan. Obviously, this is something that really has true science behind it. And so with that, I'm going to ask about this darn Aaron Rodgers story. And can you give me some insight about what happened with the bigger context of orthopedic, one of the major orthopedic people in all of sports?
Yeah. And you know, this started with the Warriors too, about the same time, is that Aaron came into my office and I was friends with his dad. And so we said, hey, Aaron, this is right before he signed the Nike contract for all that, I don't know, $20 million or whatever it was. I can't remember. But I was like, hey, Aaron, you know what? He was having a shoulder problem or something. Hey, we're going to give you some products just to test out, can you do it? So he goes back, and Brian Balega is one of the linemen. I think we do all the linemen on their team. And I think we do the Chicago too. So don't feel bad. I don't know. I don't know all the players, but Brian was cool and went down to Andrews because he had ACL surgery, ACL injury, and he goes down there and he goes, Andrews looks at, now you got to know Dr. Andrews. Dr. Andrews is probably the most famous for doing most of the ACLs and Tommy John surgery for teams. He's the doc for Washington Redskins. He's doing the Todd Gurley's and, anyone famous. Now he's in his 70s, but his place just rocks. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. And so we went down there and he was like, wow, this thing, it was this leg sleeve, after surgery, boy, Brian, you're putting that on and your leg feels cool. What's going on? That's amazing. And, the things that we're using before are so hard to put on. It's so hard to take off. And wow, your swelling is almost gone. It's like day 7. What's going on? And I said, man, this thing, I got it from Aaron. And it's like, oh, well, okay, maybe we should try it. And that was like in 2000, I think 11, something like that. And so all of a sudden they called me up for the very first time and said, hey man, we want to start using you. And we have this famous person, but you can't bring your camera. Camera stays, phone stays outside, and come on down. I want you to, you got to show us how this thing really works. So I go in and I'm like, whoa, okay. I see this girl over here on the table, and I look over and it's Lindsey Vonn, and she's standing there with her dad. And I'm like, wow, that's cool. So we go up and I start talking to her and I show her how the product works. She says, man, I can't believe it. You know what? Do you I got a muffin top from this leg sleeve. Do you have anything else that you can put on? I was like, that's what you're thinking about, muffin top. So we switched her off to a knee sleeve. And if you go and watch her HBO special, you'll see her in our underwear. She wore our knee sleeves all the time. I work with Lindsay Winninger. She's now the PT for Orlando Magic. She's, every injury I did. You'll go and see her doing pull-ups after she fractured her arm, like 3 weeks after fracture arm. That was my arm sleeve, to help her get rid of the inflammation afterwards. And if you go and watch her own brand too, you'll see her doing all the rehab always in our sleeves. So the way Andrews came about was from your nemesis, it's amazing how that works, because we also work with Dr. Cooper, who's he's the doctor for Cowboys. And I'm not sure how he started using our products years ago, but I'm over with Real Madrid head doctor in Spain, and I'm sitting down talking to him for dinner. And we're going, hey, how'd you, he said, you just saved me $110,000. And I was like, what? How did I do that? And if I did, can I have half of it? He said, well, we had a player that's making $10,000 a day, and you got the player back basically 11 days faster we've ever had it before. Instead of 24 or 25 days, it took like 12 days total back, no problems, nothing. And we have the study for that. And he goes, wait a minute, let me call my really good friend, Dr. Cooper at the Dallas Cowboys, because doesn't he use your products? And I was like, oh my gosh, you know what? I've never talked to him personally. And I was like, oh, I'm praying. I hope he's on the line. So within about 30 seconds, Cooper calls, next back, he goes, I use it on, all my patients, great product. And so it's amazing how these things happen. And right now that's what's happening around the world. Just seeing this Arsenal player, the doctor just texts me and he goes, man, look who just posted this picture. When we got Ronaldo, the same thing. He was having knee and problems with his calf, with his hamstring. So he invited us over to Paris to meet with him, which we did for a couple hours. And that was it. And then the next week he was posting pictures of him wearing our product in Ibiza. So,
wow.
It's pretty cool. Great story.
That had to be incredible in Europe with Ronaldo.
Let me ask you a question. You,
Sure.
okay, have you ever seen that on a active patient on Copperware? No. You see Brett Favre. No, they're all retired, because the active players, and in sports, it's us. We're not a brace. We're a therapy that you're wearing 24/7. You want a brace? Guess what? You're going to limit motion. We are not a brace. We are your method to get rid of pain and inflammation while you're doing nothing, sleeping. That's why we're making headbands for the concussions and anything that you can think of.
So let's talk about even deeper than that, because you guys have impact on things like, let's see if it's going to cooperate here, but you have impact on things like osteoarthritis, or at least so we
cool.
understand. Is that correct?
Yeah. So this is, we're in the middle of 15 studies, and, this is where it's big for you as well, is it? People over 40 years old, 80% of the US population have arthritis. And usually it's grade 1 and grade 2. Those are the ones that have swelling and inflammation. And so this is a peer-reviewed study that was published. You can go on PubMed, which is the gold standard for studies. This was a study we did. We reduced pain 100% of the time on all the patients in the study. However, the average amount was 63%. Imagine this, not having to take NSAIDs because you have arthritis. I mean, you get up and you don't have to get up in the morning, you wore a product or you worked in the day. We get these testimonials all the time. Man, I tell you what, I couldn't walk. Now I'm running. this is what Lindsey Vonn wore. This is what, when you see pro athletes wearing, this is what they're wearing. Oftentimes you won't see it because it doesn't have the logo on it, or it's in black, because we make them for the pro sports and that. But this is a great study. Now we're repeating the study on this because, look, when you have arthritis, it's due to inflammation, 100%. So if I can get rid of the chemicals, which are prostaglandins, that are creating the pain, what's going to happen is I move them out of the way. Now the receptor says, oh, I don't have pain. You're going to now have no muscle spasms. You're going to move better. And when you wear us to bed and wake up in the morning, you're not going to have the swelling. And the new study we're doing in Denmark, this study didn't have us have the patients wear the product at night. This was just during the day. Look, 63% decreased pain in the day.
Crazy. And now, I got to tell you, so a lot of my patients that take regular meds can't get 63% pain relief from an NSAID.
No. And it's blocking the natural, healing process as well. Now, on grade 3 and grade 4, this because I'm a huge believer in, we got to either try some PRP if it doesn't work. We got to do stem cell to get the grade 3 and grade 4, or a partial tear of a tendon. We need to actually get the stem cell in. But what if there's swelling around it? Right. We need to take the swelling out. But now you just go, when I talk to doctors all the time, I say, what are you giving your patient? What are you doing for your patient when they leave your office or you're at a PT? What are you doing? Okay, you just spent 15 minutes doing infrared or inferential or whatever you're doing to the patient, and you charge them $60 or $70, and now you have the exact same kind of treatment and you're sleeping in it, and the knee sleeve just cost you $30 or $38 or whatever it is. That's crazy. That's you can wear it. You can wear it home. So we are helping. This process. We're not the cure all. We're just trying to help get rid of that inflammation without having to use the meds. And we know that right now opioids are a huge issue. So we're doing studies trying to get patients off opioids as well.
So to that context, not only are you helping for osteoarthritis, but you're providing pain relief, which is huge for our watchers, for aches and injuries, arthritis, and fatigue. I mean, you have a huge reach in terms of what your product can really be able to do.
Yeah, we have studies on those too. So I'll just run through those really quickly. Is it if you have an ache or pain? We actually did some studies with one of these shipping companies. I can't name the name of the shipping company because they won't let us. But they had a 50% decrease in back pain just by wearing the products for going back and forth. Because when you're in pain and you can't move, you actually have a greater chance of getting injury. And then on top of that, work-related injuries are so expensive. So when we take a look at, this pain thing, is that the number one thing in the world right now, as far as what people buy things for, number one is pain. Number two is anti-aging. Number three is weight loss. And they buy these things because number one is that, pain is such a debilitating thing mentally. When you're in pain, you can't think. And if you can't think, you're not going to function. You're going to get angry. You're going to have all kinds of different issues. So being able to take something that doesn't have that side effect is what your patients are looking for. That's what everyone's looking for. So if you could try something that, okay, let's take a look at a regular brace. It goes on there. The pain goes away after 3 weeks. You take it off. Incrediwear, no. This is like, you put it on, it's not compressing, you're wearing it. Oh my God, that feels so amazing. That feels great. I'm going to leave it on. Well, you should, because what it's doing is it's getting rid of your daily inflammation that you're generating. And so we're doing these studies on work-related injuries, and we reduced, injury rate so much that now electric companies are coming to us. We want to do studies on this. And if you're in a sedentary work form, you might as well just put on Incrediwear first.
In our area, we have a number of people that do RV maintenance and manufacturing, right? And so it's huge for how much they really kind of tear up portions of their body. And actually, we have an incoming question, because I know we've talked a lot about back and knee and such. And one of the things that they have listed is, does this help with painful labrum tears? So we're talking about that context of the cuffs. Do we have stuff for upper and for the aspect of hip? Can you comment on that?
So is it a shoulder or hip?
Let's say either.
Okay, so basically we're the go-to post. That's one of the studies we're doing is post hip surgery. So we'll go to the labrum on the hip. Now and I know if the labrum's too torn, you can cause necrosis because you're going to affect the blood supply to the joint itself, the acetabulum, and you can do the same thing in the shoulder. So the thing about it is that Incrediwear works amazing for it because what is it doing is it's taking the inflammation out of the joint as well. And that's one of the things we do. And it's so cool because like on a hip, this is it. You slide it on, you slide it on, you put it on, it wraps around your waist, and now your hip feels great. We also use this hamstring quadriceps SI joint. So yes, it will affect the decrease in swelling in the joint to help with the pain and discomfort. But if it's too torn, you should be going to doc right now and have him do a scan or MRI or, and see how torn it is. Because if you could do stem cell at the same time, I mean, that's amazing. What's amazing on top of that, if we look at hips and, you got some athletes, Tua and Ben Roethlisberger and all these guys that, utilize our products and wear our products. I now have made it in a bilateral hip. And so basically we had a lot of NBA players, that helped out to get rid of that inflammation. And then on the shoulder, it's the same thing. We have products for every single body part. The key is though, when you have a labrum tear, it's really deep swelling and you do need motion, but you don't want to actually stress it or overstress it. So absolutely on a labrum tear, and I can't wait to have this person, give us their feedback because they're going to be happy camper. But this is how easy it is to even just wear. That's it. You're done.
Wow. You
got it on. You put it on. You can wear it underneath short shirt, so labrum in the shoulder, and it's holding it up into the socket. You know that the labrum is also helping, like in your shoulder, the supraspinatus to be able to hold it into the socket. And so there's a couple things that are going on. You need to make sure, but make sure you go. You're a listener, dude. You got to have doc evaluate you to make sure that it's not something that we could do a combined effort and really help you out.
Yep, agreed. And so one of our viewers wanted to kind of circle back around and pose this question directly. And she's asking, does this help with osteoarthritis?
Bingo. It's our biggest. We're peer reviewed. So afterwards, maybe you can post the study on osteoarthritis. So we are peer reviewed study that if you wear a product during the day on osteoarthritis, grade 1 and grade 2, it's 63% decreased pain with no medication. In fact, what we found out in the study is 50% of the people that wore our products actually bought another product for the other side because their knee felt so amazing. And like I said, we're redoing it so they're actually wearing at nighttime. They'll wear you really if this is arthritis of the knee, it'd be can that person actually tell you if it's a knee or what body part, because we'll tell you what it is. This is what you wear at night. It's the same thing that you'll see, pro athletes wearing. You'll see. I think I can name them, but you'll see them. This is what they wear at nighttime for recovery, and most of the pro teams is what they buy, and that's what it's used for. And we have studies on triathletes and pro teams and so on. And then during the day they wear this. It's a shorter one. And this has little stays on the side that actually make it so it doesn't crunch up. The key is to get rid of the inflammation. So osteoarthritis is the best. If it's grade 3 and grade 4, we only got 34% decreased pain. Now we're in the same realm as NSAIDs and other drugs. 34% is pretty good, But still, at that point, you need to probably get some stem cell if it's grade 3 and grade 4 injected in there at the same time.
So this is what she's saying: both knees, so you hit it right on the head. But she also mentioned the feet, and so before you jump on the feet, because I know you got some for them. Hold on a second. I want to actually kind of get to this one excerpt.
This was the foot. Who's just calling me as a foot and ankle surgeon?
Yeah.
Who is the one that gave that testimonial that you have, on the foot today?
This testimonial is from a doc who's a Harvard grad like me, who basically had a patient who's 77 years old, who had 2 weeks of extreme causalgia. So causalgia for my patients, as you guys know, is kind of one of those forms of complex regional pain syndrome. It's like RSD. It was extreme. In addition to it being prevalent throughout the entire lower extremity, this patient also had multiple myeloma and had chemotherapy that was applied. They tried multiple different types of treatment. They had oral medicines, they had topicals, and the pain was still there. Then they did a pair of Incrediwear circulation socks. I'm setting you up, man. I'm not as good as like some of the basketball players that you have, but I'm putting it above the rim for you to bring it down. All right. All right. And what she ended up stating is she was wearing it for 24/7, and she did it for 7 days, and all her symptoms resolved. Tell us a little bit about this. We really got to let you jump on this and give us
Yeah, you know what? These are like magic. That's what, and I get that all the time. I'm like, okay, but I have peer-reviewed studies. I have studies in the NBA. I have studies over, and everyone's like, oh, this is like magic. Well, magic is inside your body. Really, your innate ability to heal is there. It's just that if there's swelling around it or there's a blockage or something, it is just your body's just not functioning. And so we can help that get better. And so what she wore in that instance, and I have to tell you, I've got my head of sports over here. It's probably one of the biggest products that the coaches and players, in fact, we wear this on buses. This is or on planes. This is part of the study we're doing for diabetic neuropathy and chemo-induced neuropathy. Just it looks like a simple sock. It's embedded with stomach, and it just doesn't give any compression. It's just like, whoa, I wear it at expos because my feet feel amazing. I fly 220,000 miles a year. This is what I wear on the plane, as well as our recovery pants. I wear those on the plane, which Real Madrid just bought, I don't know how many for all their players because they're playing 3 times a week. But if you have arthritis in the knee and the feet, this is what you want. You want the circulation socks, and then you want, the knee sleeve in the day and the leg sleeve at night. And I guarantee you're going to be like, oh my God, it's life-changing. I'm just going to tell you this testimonial because one of my doctors in Texas called me this week, and he said, you know what? I have to tell you that I had this lady come in, and she's crying to me. And I was thinking, what? She's crying to you. What'd you do? He said, well, I sold her, one of your knee sleeves. And I was like, wow, is she okay? Did she have swelling? What happened? We don't get this very often. She came in and she was crying so hard. She said, this is life-changing. You know what? I haven't been able to walk in like 6 months. And not only that, the pain was gone like in 20 or 30 minutes. And, I'm here because I want to buy another one. And after that, the doc was like, okay, I want this in my office. I got to have this in my office. This is just too much. Is that, and that's the key is that, go ahead, try one product, and that's the key is there's money back guarantee. You can just send it back if you don't like it. We don't have people send the product back. It just doesn't happen. And we're in 43 countries now. So it just doesn't happen because if you have swelling, it's going to help.
So obviously you have these phenomenal testimonials of like people just like amazed at really the kind of response that they've gotten. And you've touched and impacted a huge number of lives. Of all the different people that you've impacted, which one touched your heart the most that you were like, man, this was a really it was so connective. It was so visceral that I am so happy, despite me having to go through this mountain biking trot of just heck with foot drop afterwards and everything else, for people to really be able to get benefit like this even surprised you.
So I'm actually going to, you know what? I didn't prepare for this. So what I want to do is this one just blew me, just killed me, just like, you got to be kidding. This is and I'm going to have you watch it on the video. And I'm going to turn it up really loud. Hey, Thomas, can you turn on the air so they can hear this really well? Okay. So this guy was in a car accident. So not only was he in a car accident, he's a best-selling author, New York bestseller author. He's also an attorney for brain injuries for adolescents. And one of his friends gave him this, and then they sent this to me the week before he couldn't talk.
I really, really appreciate all your help by giving me this meeting. It's really made a huge difference.
Look at him pill rolling.
December 22nd.
Look at. Okay. The week before he couldn't talk. 0. Now, let me show you the next week. The next week, he sent me a video, and I was crying.
Hi, doctor. Just another discussion on how I'm improving. Thank you so much for the beanie, the headband. I feel really so much. Thank you so much.
Guy, 3 weeks before that, the doctor at UCLA said the guy would never talk again. And I was like, you got to be kidding. And I saw that, and I'm just going to give you one more because both of these touched my heart. That one really did. I mean, I have little kids. I make products for little kids too that have like bilateral hip stuff. I just donate the products and try to make different things. But that was a brain injury. I was in Canada. I was at an event, and I see this guy walking by, and he's limping, and he's got a cane, and he's walking by. And so I went up to him. I said, "Hey man, I'd love to help you. How can I help you? I'm a giver, So my office doesn't like it because I'll give, I want to give to help and nothing in return." And so he goes, "Well, I've got open wounds on my feet. I can't, I can't walk. It's just, there's too much pain." And so I said, "Well, let me come over here. I'm going to give you a free pair of circulation socks. I just want you to try them. I'm giving them to you. So don't worry." And he goes, "No way. I'm not taking off my shoes. I'm not going to let you see my feet." It's like, wow, okay, well, I'll tell you what, don't worry about it. Here, you know what, whatever. Just take it. You know what, don't worry about it. So the next morning, this lady comes down, and she's literally in tears, and she's telling me, she's going, I don't know what to tell you. Is that this morning was the first time in 10 years that I've actually seen the bones in my husband's feet, because they had been so swollen all the time. And I was like, wow, really? Yeah. And you got to see him in a second, because he's going to come by. And he was walking by without a cane normally. And I was like, oh no, that's crazy. And that was essentially 8 years ago. And since then, we're doing studies on the chemo-induced neuropathy, diabetic neuropathy. I'm working with the doctors at the Mayo Clinic for lymphedema. We're doing, studies on post-surgery stem cell. I'm working with Sanford. We're doing with John Hopkins and USC. We're doing Sievers, and they just finished doing our NBA study. And so what's happened is it's almost like, we remember when I fell and I got this injury, and how did you do that? And I was like, oh man, I had this aha moment where, wow, I got an idea. And now what's happened is it's like the universe is now bringing things to me, where just this week, that doctor, now we're doing the test at Harvard this week on diabetic neuropathy using this the snapshot machine by Kent Imaging to show oxygenation and hemoglobin increase using our products on diabetic neuropathy patients. And that wouldn't have happened if the universe wasn't working that way. And it's now it's like we're on a train. I've always done this because I was just trying to help me. And so now we're on a train to change the world, to make life better with what we can do, and do it naturally with 0 side effects, and help doctors like you to become and look better and get better outcomes. But it's not just for someone that's injured. It's for everybody all the time. When we're in bed sheets, basically, what if I can change the alkalinity of your body? What if I can get rid of macular degeneration, or, have an effect on your heart? I mean, we do shirts for people that, have issues in that way. So I'm open to anything. So you want to do a study? I'm here. Let's do it. Let's go for it.
Sounds good. All right. So we got to start wrapping up. I know we're going a little bit long, but I got 3 questions for you. Number one.
Let's go.
If I missed asking you something, I want you to tell me, what should I have asked you that I didn't?
Wow, we covered so much. I think that one of the things is that what is it that you find that is the biggest factor that doesn't get the idea into people, where, we're telling them something like, when you do copperware, if it's an infomercial, guess what? It's probably not true. It's an infomercial. If it's that good, why isn't it in places? And I think that, one of the biggest things that I have, the thing that bothers me the most, is that this is really simple. And I wish that more people could know about it and, understand it. And the other thing is, I wish it could help me with hair growth. That'd be awesome. So maybe I'll make something afterwards. I don't know. But no, I think that's it. Is it, I just think that, if I could invent, like right now I'm doing prostate, impotency, back injuries. If I could do anything else, what would it be? Would be to help regenerate tissue, so that, just like what you're doing, if I could affect stem cells even more, that'd be awesome. We're gonna do it, because we're doing all the biochemical markers for trauma and injury. I would like to be the first. If you could see Incrediwear anywhere, what would it be? It would be the first product that you put on when you go to a hospital or a doctor, instead of medicine. That would be my dream, if I could have a dream.
Okay. All right. And so where can people find your product if they want to go direct and say, you know what? I'm not waiting on Dr. Landrum. He moves too slow for me. He's been talking for like the last 45 minutes anyway. I could have bought everything that I needed 20 minutes ago. So where can people find you, find your product, and connect to someone who can really give them further information?
Well, so number one is, if you look at Incrediwear.com, and you'll see all the countries we're in. So if you're in, doesn't matter if you're in Latvia or you're in Spain or in UAE or Australia or wherever. We have a listing of you can go on and get a store finder and see who's selling it. You can buy it online. It depends on what city you're in. I don't know where that person's in. You guys are in what city? What's the biggest city next to you?
We're in the South Bend area, man.
Yeah.
Notre Dame, home of the Fighting Irish. So you're going to tell me Chicago? Probably.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of stores. We have a lot of pharmacies. So we're found in pharmacies, health food stores, sports stores, doctor's offices. And, so you can go on, or you can actually call us up and we can help you. We have a customer care department that will guide you in the right direction. Studies, most of the studies are on the site. And if they're not, if you have a question regarding a study, I love trying to help people. And if you have an idea that you want me to help develop a new product or something, send it to me. I've probably already thought about it, but there's our site. And you want to live incredibly and perform. And, one of the things we didn't get into that I'll just say real quick is sports. We're preventing sports injuries, and that's but preventing the weekend warrior from not being able to do what they're supposed to be doing. That's where we're at.
I think particularly for a lot of youth athletics, when we really start talking about taking a look at individuals that have possible risk for ACL tears and different injuries along that context, I see that you guys have stuff on your site even talking about that. So I know that there's a few other questions that they're like, wait, don't let them go yet. Don't finish your last few questions. We have questions too.
Okay.
So
I'm here.
One of the things that they want to know is, will this potentially cause a problem with kind of the electrical system because of how it seems to deal with ions and such?
No, there's no, it's not, you're not putting an electrical impulse in. Remember, these are mid-level infrared optical waves. When you go outside and you're getting sun waves, those are optical waves as well. So there's no electricity involved. It's an optical wave.
Yeah. So people that have AFib and stimulators and all those type of things, no problems, no issues. One other thing, I'm gonna kind of piggyback off a last week question, and I think that this is really a good fit. So can you talk about Raynaud's and how it impacts people? We actually were having someone talk about cryotherapy last week, as a matter of fact, a really interesting person in the community. And obviously it can exacerbate it, but there are things that you can do to try to be able to decrease that. But for people that have pain from Raynaud's, is this something that might be able to provide benefit?
Absolutely. And if you read that testimonial you got from Dr. Brumley that you read, we're doing a study on Raynaud's or Raynaud's. So it depends on what country you're from, how you say it. But yeah, because remember, this is a sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system issue. And so when you have there's what controls the vascular system is the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. And so if we can calm that down and we can have a effect on the nerve transmission that's in the tissue itself, it's like a miracle. So I have to tell you right now, we don't have a study on it. We have anecdotal only. And I don't like to actually talk about anecdotal only. I like studies. But I'll tell you what, the anecdotal stuff right now is like overwhelming. And as we're sitting here, he's like, okay, there's a phone call from the guy that's doing the Raynaud syndrome or Raynaud syndrome is the one that was just calling me. And so we're setting up the protocol for it. And so it's kind of there's another universe thing that, here he is, calling me during this and that particular question. So remember, if you put ice on something that has a vascular component to it like that, it's not a great thing. It can exacerbate it and make it, tissue necrosis. Just like, would you go and jump in to the Arctic? How long would you last? 2 to 3 minutes, 5 minutes? Right. And that's why ice is kind of going away. We didn't talk about that. We didn't address that much. Rest ice, compression, elevation. Compression's going away. Ice is being minimized to 2 to 5 minutes max, because after that you actually stop the immune response again. So you're actually vasoconstricting, which stops the mast cells, the leukocytes and monocytes and all the different cells that are going to help the inflammatory response. And it's a great analgesic though. Man, you put it on and you're frozen. It's like, oh yeah, it's better than meds, but it just shouldn't be used overly too much.
So we've covered a lot of stuff in this commentary, and I really want to thank you so much for coming on. For me, this was like, I'm just swinging for the fences to see if you could come on and talk to our community. And I was like, man, he said yes. Oh, wow. So I think, being able to kind of educate our community about a product that is incredibly unique and what it brings to the table and how it can be impactful to their life, their health, and consequentially influential to their mindset is huge. And so, for people that weren't able to tune in, you can find us on our YouTube channel so that you can constantly come back and reference this information. So check out our YouTube channel below. But I got one last question for you that I really want you to kind of.
Is it about the Bears? We do the Bears. Oh, we do the Bears. I just found out. So
it took you an hour to answer that, though. All right, we're going to talk about this later offline. It took an hour to get that answer.
I just asked Thomas, and he's like, "Yeah, we do the Bears. Yeah."
All right, we'll talk about this later. Okay,
and
so
we do the Bulls too. So there you go.
I'm sure you would have led with that if it wasn't about Last Dance and it was Michael Jordan, right? You would have been on that immediately. But anyway, we're going to continue. So the question I have for you right now is, so let's say it's 3 years from today, right? And in those 3 years, what would have had to happen for you to feel like things have gone the way that you wanted them to go, both personally as well as professionally?
So instead of me, I think this is about, in 3 years, if we are that product that's the go-to. When we looked at before, is like Under Armour is the go-to for compression. They don't do compression anymore. They don't even have one product that actually is compressing anymore, because it doesn't really work. And so that's why they don't have them. But in 3 years from now, for me to be like happy and ecstatic, I mean, we've been doing this for now 11 years. So in 3 years from now, if we're the first product, like I said, in urgent care, we're the first product that you wake up and you put on, yet you just took off our pajamas, and you feel amazing. And we're FDA regulated. We're the first product that actually is FDA regulated to make it feel good, and you're wearing it to prevent, so that we can actually diminish injuries. And I think if we don't have, like businesses utilizing us. Instead of changing your desk for $1,000, put on a wrist sleeve that costs $27 for carpal tunnel, or, do things. If I am not able to be in that position, I'll feel like I failed. And if I don't have all the studies that I want, I'll feel the same way. And I think that's what drives me every day. And you can ask my team, man. I'm up early in the morning, and I don't sleep very much because, I'm trying to change the world in a better way and do it scientifically. It's not junk. It's not fake. It's real. And the other thing is, if you want to test it yourself and see how amazing it is just take that product of ours and put it in hot water. Take it out, wring it out, put it on your arm, and it's hot. And in 30 seconds, it'll be cold, and it'll actually cool you down just like an ice pack. That's a miracle. That's crazy. And things like that, if we're able to be the first product that you think about, like a Band-Aid, you go into and you ask for Band-Aids. Well, that's the brand. If you go in and you ask for, I need something to make me feel incredible. In 3 years, I hope they just say, hey, do you have Incrediwear? We're synonymous with feeling amazing.
Phenomenal. Okay. And personally,
so I actually have 5 herniated discs in my back, 3 in my neck, and I can't feel my legs. But I still exercise and do things. I have to wear all my products, of course. But if personally, I live my business. Actually, I live to help people. And so personally, I think that if I'm not better than I am today, I swam, just before your show, I just swam, I run, I bike, I do all those things. If I can't be better than I am in 3 years from now, then it's a failure, because that's why I'm developing these products for me. And when I feel good and when my body feels amazing and I decrease, I want to develop the anti-aging, and maybe in 3 years you'll do an interview and I'm like, dude, I got hair like you. Who knows? I'm working with doctors on that. If I can do these things and actually continue to look, the age that I am right now, or even younger, man, that is to me, that would be so cool. The older we get, the younger we feel. Man, that's what you're doing. That's stem cell, man. That's cutting edge.
Well, again, thank you so much for joining. I mean, your interview podcast piece today is going to be very difficult for anyone to kind of touch in terms of the impact that you've had, where it came from, how motivated you were to not just change your own life, but change someone else's, and continue to do so. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate those people who tuned in. You guys have a great day. Take care.